is very likely very few people will ever see what I'm about to show you. That when we are all gone from this world, like falling snow disappearing, no one will remember us. But that is not why we should live. I am alive now, and I tell stories. This is how I make meaning, here, now. Welcome to my home. Imagine it as a solitary winter castle, a jewel island. The cold snow outside, hibernation, darkness, and scavengers among the dead. Bare lines. I will start from a point of tradition. Many years ago, exactly 10 years to be exact, I was a student with a group. We traveled to Europe, to a place also named Athens. Athens, Greece. This was a year before the global financial crisis of 2008. 10 years ago, I was in a movie theater in Sparta. 10 years ago, on a Sunday, I was in the city of Athens, Greece, during a state parade in the shadow of the ancient ruins of the Parthenon, where great philosophers once lectured. Teachers, really. Much as the goddess Athena was considered a patron of Athens, of ancient Athens, Greece, I venture now to be a patron here in Ohio. No vision from the oracles would have foreseen it. After ancient Greece, the ghosts of their culture helped create Caesar, and Caesar created Rome. Rome too had their gods and their pagan rituals before the spectacle of the Colosseum was taken over by the gladiators and the carnage of bloody sacrifice, the spectacle of torture, a game show crucifixion. Rome's obsession with expansion was its downfall, and a fringe religion, one of many fringe religions in an empire made of conquered peoples and conquered territories, broke off from its roots in the Jewish faith, as I understand it. As with Islam, this belief system gained traction in the millions who suffered beneath a class system under the rule of politicians and emperors, such as Constantine, who made Christianity the official faith of the empire. And in Star Wars, the empire is cruel. When the empire fell, and there have been many empires in a brief spark of human history, the medieval ages came, the Dark Ages, or so it was called by Western historians. Since there was so much more to the world besides this, it was only a narrow beam of focus. All that we know of this history, all that fragment of history, would have been burnt by invaders were it not for the Celts in what is now Ireland, who preserved their writings and books, preserved Latin, the roots of our English-American writing, and married their pagan stories that led to the altars we now see in places of worship today. The altar is a universal human construct, a place of objects and symbols of great importance, not just crucifixes, the Quran, or humble chalices. We make our altars too. At the grave of Edgar Allan Poe, a mystery visitor for decades left flowers at its side. There's also the grave of Oscar Wilde, for those of you who do not know. There's also the grave of Oscar Wilde, for those of you who don't know. He was a talented gay poet, imprisoned his grave for sexual purposes. Had lipstick's grave for the longest time, and the lipstick marks kisses covered in 1,000 of cases. Shamans exist in all shapes and sizes across cultures. I have seen altars here in Athens, Ohio, made of crystals and incense, of animal skulls. Shamans exist in all shapes and sizes across cultures. Tarot cards. I have seen altars here. My altar here in Athens, Ohio. Symbols. Royalty. Kings and queens. Clubs and spades. Like weapons. And crowns. Numbers showing patterns. Up or down. Fixed yet flexible in many orientations. Face cards. Diamonds. Patterns, symmetry, and wild cards. Crystals. Recall the Tibetan Book of the Dead. That book is not here, but that is inappropriate because one of its main ideas is emptiness, reflective of the Buddhist notions of nothingness, of peace and serenity. Within the boundaries of this room, is emptiness hovering. We do not realize how all nothingness filled points of time, and all those points, like a masterpiece in the Art Institute of Chicago, are made up of us. This knife, for example, imagine this knife is you. In the middle of this room is all of the time. And at the point of this knife is the length of your life. And that is what our lives are, so brief in this time. Besides the subtle knife is, at my altar, the golden compass, children's book, where witches are compassionate and the angels of heaven cruel. It was inspired by Paradise Lost, a story by Milton where the devil may be interpreted as its tragic anti-hero, trying to rally a war against the authority. You want to serve the age, betray it, says Brendan Kennelly, an Irish poet, wrote a book called The Book of Judas. This year has been a very troubling year, 2016. The continuing struggle at Standing Rock against greed and militarized police in Aleppo and dangerous presidential candidates. 2016 has been brutal. Beacons of light were extinguished. Leonard Cohen died at 84 from a fatal flaw. Prince died suddenly from drug overdose of painkillers. Sharon Jones of the Dap Kings lost her battle to cancer at the age of 60. Nick Cave, the musician behind Your Funeral, My Trial. Nick Cave of the Bad Seeds lost his eldest son, and his grief created a skeleton tree. It was called One More Time with Feeling, a cinematic experience where the musicians in their music making seemed to conjure a black hole. And the jewel of this altar is David Bowie's Black Star, released this year, just days before his death. A literal goodbye to the world with music. A literal goodbye to the world with his music. Death is the unknown. No one has come back. That state unknown, and the darkness within ourselves. We project our fear. We've made villains of what can kill us, the wolf or the snake especially. But remember, from venom comes anti-venom and cures from cancer. In a television series, a spin-off from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Angel is an episode entitled Happy Anniversary from 2001, and I'll read you this exchange. Angel, the vampire, says, "Well, you know love, it's a fire. It burns you alive, down to the bone, and then it turns a bone to ash, and his friend Lorne is a demon, green and horned. I think my chipper friend. You can't stop it. Sometimes things get worse. Sometimes they get better. Living. It's like a song. Now, I can hold a note for a long time. Actually, I can hold a note forever. But eventually, that's just noise. It's a change we're listening for. The note coming after, and the one after that. That's what makes it music. Demon, vampire, vilified in our popular consciousness. We fear death and create vampires in hope to conquer that fear of our mortality. Our dreams and nightmares are made of the same things. Our nightmares without fear turn beautiful in their starkest light, even in the shadow of death, like Silas the vampire from Neil Gaiman's Graveyard book. A lone, powerful vampire, sleek, black of clothing, white skin of death, who decides in his cold, Slytherin way to mentor and look after an orphan boy raised in his cemetery among the ghosts of souls buried there. Like the giant black wolf in the never-ending story, licking his wounds in a cave, questioned by a boy who looks like a girl, a warrior. Like Jacob Marley in chains, warning Ebenezer Scrooge of his addiction to gold, like the dragon Smog of Middle-earth. Like Count Darth Tyrannus with his curved lightsaber in his castle Dracula, crying tears of blood like a cardinal in a skeleton tree. In Carl Dreyer's silent film, The Passion of Joan of Arc, made in 1928, a heroic young Joan of Arc first led armies against England in 1928, and in fear of her power, our heroic young Joan of Arc order first led armies against England, of which in fear of her only after she saved them. The old French religious order, the stake, accused her of witchcraft only after she saved them, and had her burned at the stake by hateful men of state and men of religion. In a review of the re-release of The Exorcist, a critic at the Entertainment Weekly began by some movies aren't just movies, they're closer to voodoo. They channel currents larger and more powerful than themselves. Max von Sydow's playing the character of Father Merrin. The actor was a young man at the time, wearing makeup, aging him to look 80. Looming in the despairing darkness, the exhausted darkness of the film. The actors in this horrific, grotesque chamber play breathe smoke from the cold of frozen domestic hell. And the character, played by Max Sydow, was a glacier of hope, fragile yet strong, granite in the sharp contours, straight shoulders, held in human skin. His fictitious presence, a beacon of hope in a universe without it, like an astronaut of compassion in a world of vile, destructive hatred. He is preserved still younger in Bergman's Seventh Seal, a knight playing chess against death in a black and white, or as the grieving, vengeful father in medieval Europe, killing two men who had raped his daughter in the Virgin Spring, This was decades before the Game of Thrones. Grief makes us astronauts, stumbling and incoherent, grabbing at shadows, between worlds, as in the Irish play, Dancing at Lunasa, where a brother returns to the West. He is a missionary, was gone a lifetime, just a baby when he left to Africa, that when he returns to his sisters and nephew, he returns with his hairs graying. He is a stranger, and his mind. Another Carl Dreyer film, Not Quite Anywhere. Also Not Quite Anywhere. Another Dreyer film in Carl called Ordette. Here, called Ordette, a family of humble means on a hillside in Germany during some time before the wars is stricken with crises of faith, and the family's brother has been overcome by this delusion that he is Jesus, and walks throughout the film in a trance, never seeming to blink, and saying words that do not seem to be from someone human. The mysteries of our lives has been replaced by the prison of commerce, industry, profit, and advertisement. Business puts such a stranglehold on who we really are. We are ghosts. We are fragile and ephemeral, a blink of an eye in time. Years for us is a moment for a stone, a moment for an island, or a mountain, or a knife, or a star. We live haunted by our memories and our fears, as if we have departed, and our memories of pain and suffering from our past haunt us like emotions of the deceased. That is what ghosts are, I believe, emotions of the deceased left behind for us to breathe. Who we were then in 2016, this now, will soon be as in a recent western called Slow West, a very long time ago. To bear this knowledge can be a burden, but it also, like this knife, can be a tool, because it is inescapable. We are ships in the night sky, and this is my ship in the ocean. We are on missions of search and discovery in an ocean of emptiness that can cause loneliness. For the vast distances between people and the past and death and life is infinite. It is a darkness that fills all gaps between the shine and the sound. Rather than starlight radiating forward, perhaps it is the darkness in us, and between the stars, expanding within ourselves, consuming planets, searching for peace, for islands and other ships in this ephemeral life, for connections. Our memories bridge the gap, our faith and compassion in our mutual ego of feeling alone and isolated. Gratitude that I'm here today to say these words, marooned in time, with you here, with my limited perspective. Contrast to the colors and the dimensions others bring. I'm here placing the stone beams, the skeleton tree, and the spark frozen and encased like a snowflake in a frame. This place, I am this place, we are in this place, in this cove, an island in this vast, stark country, founded in the conquering of native peoples, the exploitation of slaves, the suppression of women and children, the destruction of the environment to appease an artificial hunger, an addiction to feeling incomplete. It is here I work to understand how there's more to life than profit, monetary profit, and to resist the story that we have been forced to bear. I have learned here in Ohio a fragile agency, a self-empowerment that comes from resisting the way a prisoner does during occupation. The result is how I create my own life in this cove, in this wild harbor. It is wild because this place is intoxicating. It provides its residents with a taste of freedom to discover who you want to be, to find a different way, and one can get crushed by the responsibility to yourself shown to you. To find a different way is what asymmetry. Years ago, I heard on Radiolab this idea that the birth and the death of the universe should have instantly canceled itself out, were it not for a very small, infinitely small, asymmetrical irregularity, a difference between opposing cosmic forces. We are the remainders. We are here from this accident, this asymmetry. It may have come from the Greeks or Shiva, the destroyer of worlds, full circle, oracles, visions. Joan of Arc was no witch, and if she was one, she behaved with compassion, and it was those with political power who used religion as a weapon to stifle her life. As brief as our attention, as brief as the time we can remain undistracted. When have you given the chance to look into that dark window, to yourself? For we fear ourselves, for having not stared into the depths of this moon shadow. It's actually pain, not evil. We need to label everything in the West, so we give it a name. We give it stories as Milton did with Paradise Lost, and William Blake's screen prints, so convincing the retelling that the blame of Eve destroyed Joan of Arc, perpetuating harmful beliefs that everyone except you are second class. To serve the age, betray it. And in the age of greed, this age, 2016 of greed, hatred, distraction, addiction, and loneliness, betray it with compassion. Here is a beauty in the winter. There's beauty in dying. Our ships move closer to our final destination. We do not know when it will occur, and islands in between of who we will meet her, and where will we end. The music in the salvage wreckage of others that have left behind their lives, fragments in the meter of their words, of the songs and of paintings and prayers of their stories. That is hope too, to matter, as the Dalai Lama says, to matter to someone. I want to thank all my friends and teachers. Linus, Dr. Holland, Nico, Peggy, Nadia, Luke Sa, Caitlin Rack, Maya, Allie, Erica Heron, Aika, and so many more. Every one of you have taught me something. Thank you. And also a special mention to Jasper.